preface a couple things up above. Tartaria fully out, distributed across the board. The last podcast session is up there, and also a link to the session that I'll be co-hosting with Chris for Film 3 is also up there. We got a good guest for tomorrow. Probably worth checking in on that if you got the time to come and hang out. How's it been? What are you up to? What are you doing? What are you working on?
Not much. I mean, I was about to actually jump in the shower because I had a busy morning. But really, anything. The only thing worth mentioning is the comic.
Yeah.
It's an incredible amount of work. So like for months, I'm going to be like, "What are you working on? The comic? What are you working on? The comic? What are you working on? Still the comic."
Well, you could give us a progress update. You could tell us, how far along you are, what you are making progress on, anything.
Yeah, it's funny because I was just sitting in front of the computer looking at this post that I started writing a couple of weeks ago about how I came to decide to illustrate it myself. It's because it's been quite a mental journey for me. I've always seen myself as a pretty good writer and each time getting better and better. But as far as illustrating is concerned, it's kind of one of those things that I've always doubted myself with and feared the most. Because
And you were working with someone, right?
I was. And I can. Well, but the biggest issue there is running out of money because I was on a cubic round. I was on this Kickstarter round a couple of months ago, and I got about 70-ish% of the way there to be able to do, I think it was 20 pages that I was aiming for. But number one, I got to 70%, didn't get to 100%. And number two, when I started writing the script, I realized pretty quickly that it was actually a lot longer than I originally intended. Not only did I have to decide to cut it off around the middle, I got a good, I chose a pretty good cliffhanger for to kind of end issue 1. But even that cutoff is at page 26, and it was going to be page 20. So I was going to be able to fund 15 pages and not be able to get the rest of the way. So at the beginning, I started looking for other ways to fund it. I got rejected for a couple. I applied to a couple, not rejected, but I applied for another couple of grants, and it didn't go so well. It's been a couple of months, so I started thinking about what I could do, because I didn't want to get 70% of the pages. I didn't want to get 15 pages done and then be like, all right, now what? So around August, I was listening to a few. I was on a kick. What was I keep forgetting? I was on a Todd McFarlane kick. I started listening to a lot of his interviews online. Whatever you think of him, or even if you know who he is.
I do.
A lot of I didn't really know that well. So anyway, the thing is that what he says again and again and again in his interviews is this narrative that you got to vouch for yourself. You gotta kind of not stand up for yourself, but put yourself out there yourself. If you're not cheering yourself on, then no one's going to do it for you. And it's the whole thing. It took me 4 or 5 interviews of him saying the same thing, plus other things in my life that I kind of started seeing come together, and my brain started kind of shifting, and I came to the conclusion that I could illustrate it myself. What the hell am I so afraid of, right? And I came and I kind of just kind of came around to it, and I realized that would solve the money problem, because I can just pay myself, and if I can just charge myself much less than another artist would, and that would be okay, because it's my comic.
That is an approach to take.
Yeah, and that was in August, and I decided, okay, I'm going to get some things out the door, and then in September, I planned in August to start doing this in September. But then I forgot that September was the month where I had to start teaching a lot of classes. And then 3 days before September came around, I got my schedule for the classes I had to teach. And it was 5 classes, four classes straight in a row, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday mornings. and another class Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. And that took up a lot of my time because then you also have to do, grading and all that stuff. On top of that, the first couple of weeks, we all got sick, like one after the other. We'd spent time at the hospital. It's nothing bad, but I still had to spend 4 hours, at the hospital. So it took a lot of time away. And then when I got sick, I just spent time in bed or just kind of feeling groggy. And it really just kind of, when it's like you're starting a race, the very first part of the race is like your engine blows up and you can kind of start going like Flintstone style, like putting your feet under it and start moving. But the momentum just wasn't there. So now it's like halfway through October and I'm on page 2. So my biggest struggle right now is that.
You're crushing it. I'm going to be honest with you. It would take me a very long time to do physical illustrations. I'm going to say a couple of things. Kayla, this is the first time you've been in here and we just connected. I would love to have you come up just because we don't necessarily know each other too well. So would love to pick your brain a little. Tony, I don't know if you've been up on stage here, though I know that, you hang out in writer's block. So obviously I passed the both of you guys invites. You're welcome to hang out. Gonzalo and I have known each other for probably getting close to a year at this point, I would assume. And I'm going to circle back around to your space. I think it was Friday where you were basically doing the comic thing. I ended up looking into, I'm looking at doing a graphic novel as well, obviously based on material that I already have. I'm not going to be doing a bunch of additional illustration, but was looking at how to do layout, and it's something that can be accomplished with pages. And they have all these different tools in there that facilitate that. So it's definitely something that is on my radar now.
Yeah, so that was that question about layout kind of threw me for a spin because I was thinking about as Brandon was talking about that, I was also thinking like, you can do it on a napkin, it doesn't really matter. But then you were like, no, I'm talking about layout for publishing. I was like, I don't know.
All good. Yeah, that's why I asked, because I figured you guys knew more than me because you're doing it already. As it turns out, luckily, it's something that can be accomplished with pages, and there's a bunch of good tools kind of built into it to be able to facilitate that. So it is something that I have done a little bit of testing with, have not accomplished anything. I got a book coming out next month that I got to finish, so that's kind of priority right now. But yeah, love hearing that you're making progress, that you're sorting out how to make it work. And, maybe there's some way of still even working with the other person that you had intended to, in a more limited way or something like that. Who knows?
That's interesting. It's very interesting that you say that, because I have been thinking about that. In this Friday's space, I'm actually going to be interviewing him. And he's been like, okay, but when we did this campaign back in June, we were kind of at the same stage, kind of roughly like the same stage, that we had like our rough idea planned out, and that was kind of it. Now it's October and he's already put out his first issue. It's out there. And I was telling him about this on Discord. I was chatting with him about this.
He's ripping.
It's out, it's done, and it's amazing. It's 26 pages. And not only that, I was like, I was telling him about issue 2, and he was like, yeah, issue 2 is done too. We were just waiting for it to come. I was like, well, how the fuck? So now like the focus of the space on Friday is going to be, how did you do that? Right. And he's already kind of been hinting at how he's done it on Discord, because, you do your research first. And let me tell you, it's going to be a very interesting conversation, because there are ways that people usually do this, and there are like pros and cons to doing it that way, or this way or that way. And he has a very interesting approach. He's had a very interesting approach to solving that I think I'm going to adopt myself.
Love it.
And this was like a conversation that I had yesterday. So I'm still like kind of like, the wheels are turning right now for me.
Two things
for that.
if you have your space already scheduled, obviously, post it up here into the nest for the rest of us, and then toss it in the cabal also. For the folks that are hanging out, if you want to come up and talk or have questions, good panel of folks to pick the brains of, grab a mic and I will bring you up. That's perfectly fine. Kayla, welcome. You're hanging out. We're chatting. I don't know if you do graphic novels or illustration or anything like that, but what I will say is hello. How are you? What are you up to? How's your day?
Hi, I'm doing really well. I actually find your guys' conversation really interesting. Um, for those of you who don't know me, I'm a multi-genre author, and I had an idea for children's books because I was a preschool teacher for like 9 years, and I've read a lot of kids' books, and I had a kid that was into it. She's 6 years old. So I read a lot of children's books, and I wanted to do children's books, but finding an illustrator was one of the hardest things to do because I've heard a lot of people who have trouble finding them. I've heard a lot of people who have found an illustrator and then they back out or things don't work out for whatever reason. And so I had a book called Dandelion, which was about a dandelion who was in a garden and everybody told it was a weed and that no one would pick it. So I let it sit for a really long time. And then one of my family members was like, why don't you just try doing the illustrations? And I used to do art, but I didn't consider myself I was decent, but I wasn't like illustrator level, I would say. So I started working with like watercolors, and I did it during COVID on like printer paper with my daughter's watercolor art set. And like I was happy that it turned out decent, but I knew it needed to get better. And I actually met with a publisher and they were going to publish it. And they were like, I just want you to redo the illustrations on like more professional paper with
That's all the work, right?
Right. With more professional paper, more professional art. And I'm like, all right, it's fine.
Not on printer paper, right?
So I went through that process. Probably did it like 4 times. And I did it by hand. And now with some of the other children's books that I've done, I do it digitally, which is easier, but not easier. It's different doing it by hand because if you do art, like how much pressure to put on the paper and how the pencil works or how the paint works when you're using it by hand. And it's different digitally to try to figure that out. It's like relearning how to draw.
Trade-offs.
Yeah, exactly. So I definitely agree with that. That sometimes you need to try your hand at it and see how it works out. And now I do the illustrations for my books, and I have 3 children's book out. So
love it. Yeah, that's incredible. I've got an idea for a children's book kind of in the hopper. I had started conceptualizing it a couple of years ago, but have not had time to revisit that just because I've got, other stuff on the schedule as it is right now. But I love the fact that you're doing a variety of genres as I also do. Tell us more about that. What else are you doing besides children's books?
Well, I started out in young adult dystopian. That was like my first genre that I jumped into. And then I actually didn't know if I was going to write any more books. And then I actually started writing. I really love superhero fiction. Marvel kind of helped kick that off. But during that time, I was like, it was already such a saturated market and I didn't really know how I was going to jump in and put my own spin on it. So I was at the same time trying to build my newsletter, and I started sending out little pieces of my book. Well, what's now a novel, like a novella called The Backup Superhero. I sent out like weekly installments. And then when it was finished, I had all my readers say, hey, why don't you turn this into a book? I'd buy it. And so I turned it into a novella, and now it's turned into a series. So I have a series of superhero fiction books. I do young adult family drama, contemporary romance. I'm about to release a young adult horror book that's like it's called Escape City. It's like zombies meet amusement park meets escape rooms.
You're ripping.
And then
I love it.
So I'm kind of all over the place, but I think the biggest thing is I can't stick to one genre because I get bored. And I think it keeps me challenged being able to write in so many genres. And thankfully, my audience has stayed with me. So I can only hope that still happens.
Yeah. The thing about it is I think as writers, we need to pursue the things that speak to us. If you're slogging your way through material that you're not particularly driven towards, and you know, it might have been something that you loved at first, but then over time you're like, I just need a break from this. I want to go do other stuff. You know, the same things happen with musicians, photographers, filmmakers, whatever it is. You know, we want to be able to explore our ideas and our creativity, however that looks. One of the things that keeps me, you know, kind of engaged with any particular silo of content is, you know, I'll write the book. A lot of my stuff is photographic as well inside of those books. And then I'm making videos out of the stuff. I do audiobooks. And that way I'm kind of able to explore different channels, even though it might be for the same material. It still allows me to explore creativity in different ways. Have you done any audiobooks for your stuff?
Yeah. I've done about 4 of them. I've used ACX, but I would say I feel like it's hard sometimes as I have, it's hard to explain. When you're doing an audiobook, it is interesting to find someone who's able to convey all of your characters, whether they're male or female or whatever, in such a way. So I think that's why I've only done 4 so far, because sometimes it is hard to find a narrator that can do all of that and sound good throughout the entire book.
Yeah, that's fair. Have you ever thought of doing the performances yourself?
I have, but I really think I need to get a better sound, like sound booth area for that, because they really run it through, I mean, which is understandable. They run it through a lot of quality checks in order to make sure it's the best quality going out.
They do. But I'll tell you what, you know, like I have a relatively minimalist setup. I don't even use a condenser mic anymore for mine. I just use an SM58, and I'll record in a closet with clothes up to kind of absorb reverberation and to kind of isolate the audio recording. And I would say, you know, in terms of the audio quality, not speaking to the quality of the reader, but the audio quality is solid in that way. And I'm just using, like I said, an SM58. I've got an interface, a very basic interface, and I just use GarageBand. I don't even use like Pro Tools anymore. I'm trying to do less heavy lifting and be able to just, you know, maintain production.
That's a good point. Yeah, I never thought about that. I mean, I do read alouds for my my children's books on like YouTube and stuff to help people, you know, do discoverability, because ideally for children's books, I don't think as many kids are doing the ebooks. And everybody's like, "Oh, make an ebook of it." And I'm like, I feel like when kids are on tablets, they're not really going through as many ebooks as we would hope they would. So I haven't really gone down that route. So I try to do like read aloud books on YouTube so that teachers can use them in classrooms and such like that.
Yeah. So this is something that I have found. Having the audiobook drives a lot of sales for me on material, and it basically enables you to enter a lot of different markets that way, to get into libraries, which, you know, it can be a little bit tougher with some stuff. Whereas like with some audiobook distribution, you know, it basically becomes automatically available to a lot of libraries depending on which services they are participating in. So yeah, it might be something to think about, just to be able to offer more experiences or ways for people to find your material. And, you know, obviously like you're doing great at it. You have a bunch of stuff out and are hitting different age groups and all the rest of that. So you don't need me to tell you, but yeah, it's just something to think about. Again, to the other folks hanging out, if you want to come up, grab a mic. This is an open conversation. It is very much your space and meant to be, you know, conversational in that way. It really isn't exclusive in any sense.
Absolutely. And I like, Kayla, what you were talking about, you know, the journey that you went through to publish your children's books it's very inspired. It's very inspiring, and it's I'm wondering what you mean by multi-genre, because you talk about publishing children's books. What else do you like to write? What else do you enjoy making? What other kind of genres do you do?
Well, like I said, I do the superhero fiction. I do a lot of young adult subgenres like dystopian.
Yes.
I have a horror book coming out soon. I have contemporary romance, family drama. I kind of just move around to whatever I feel like writing at the time, I guess.
Yeah, maybe I should start. Yeah, this is something that really resonates with me, because I don't like being like tied down to one type of work that I'm like known for making or something. Because I've got a couple of children's books in the works right now. I've got like a hybrid chapter book / comic book for kids that's written, which is like eternally stuck on the illustration part of it because it's so long. But I'm also enjoying writing a manga for older audiences. I'm writing not for myself, but I'm writing on commission a horror story for comics. So I like to dabble in different styles, in different genres for writing, and no, it's just like it's more liberating, artistically it's liberating, and I don't think we should be tied down to any one thing. Like I'm in this community, this art community, where I've run into, like, I don't know him personally, but I've seen the works of this channel called DMC, which is the guy from Run DMC. Remember Run DMC from the 80s? I remember them because they did a song with Aerosmith. But it was weird to me. But he's doing a lot of really cool art now, and like comics and stuff. He's doing comics, and it's wild because you think of one person as doing one thing. It's like, it's not like nobody's telling me, okay, you were a rapper in the 80s, so you're not allowed to do comics now. What the hell? Like, no, right? And it is weird to think about it, but yeah, we should do different stuff. Right.
A couple of things here too, because we've got a question from Kennel Godas. I am not sure how to say your display name. I don't want to botch that up, and I certainly will. Is there a kind of community or a group where we can discuss and explore some themes? Heidi, who is not here today, co-hosts Writer's Block. I do that with her on Tuesdays. It is at noon Eastern time, so it is typically thematic. This week we kind of did our workshop thing, but we do that once a month. Otherwise, it is typically themed, topically explorative, and I would say if you're looking for something that kind of gets into the mechanics of the elements of writing, that would be one spot to look. And again, we haven't scheduled next Tuesday's space, but I would say if you're following me, then you'll see it pop up in the next couple of days. We usually try and get that scheduled sometime between Thursday and Saturday. But yeah, very, we're always looking for topics, and obviously it's conversation oriented as well. So if you're looking to join in with that and ask questions, Gonzalo has also co-hosted that in the past. Always open for questions. This is a very free form space that I do once every 2 weeks for the folks that are hanging out who haven't been here before. This is basically like just cutting it up. You can promote stuff. If there are things, Kayla, that you have, that you want to put up in the nest, feel free. I record these sessions and then release them as podcasts. I think the last session is up there. Maybe it's not. Maybe it is. No, but it should be. It should be up there. So maybe I'll dig that up. Again, like this is really, your space. So if you have questions and you don't want to come up, feel free to put them into the bubble in the comments. And, I keep an eye on that stuff and try to get around to it as I can, while letting the conversation resonate organically. So hopefully that helps a little bit. Not to interrupt the folks that are talking,
I was just thinking about that stuff and thinking about. I like how you went also for. I wanted to mention this because it's valid. How you went from thinking, how am I going to get an artist, and there's no way I could do it, to just going and doing it all yourself. I have a very similar. I was just talking to Michael at the beginning. I had a very similar. I'm going through, I should say, a very similar kind of journey with the manga that I'm making. It's just that I don't have 3 mangas out yet. I'm still on the first one right now, like kind of like stumbling, kind of like trying to trudge through it. It's like, you look at it from above and it's like, yeah, I can tread through that. That doesn't look too murky. Yeah, I can go. I can do it. And then you're in it and it's like Jello. It's like walking through Jello. It's like, damn, this is. Yeah, okay, I get it. I get now why people say it's hard. Okay, and then I'm just kind of just trying to do it, basically.
Yeah, for me, I'm not an illustrator in any significant sense. I do use AI fairly extensively. That's one of the directions I go. I will also say this. I have had sitting on the back burner for way too long a video piece that I've wanted to work on, where I had drawn out scenes and then was able to process those through AI to create kind of what would be, the background components. And I really ought to circle back around to that and actually make some progress with it, because it has been sitting on the shelf for probably like a year now, and have done nothing with it. And I really ought to, because it's a cool idea that I like personally, but I think in general, there are so many good tools and good vehicles for being able to create visuals, whether it is organic or it's digitally assisted in different ways. And that looks like using Procreate or Illustrator too. Like, I don't want to exclude those tools, because, there's a lot of machine learning that's going on inside of Photoshop and Procreate to be able to make you a better artist. Let's say that.
Yeah, I have to agree with what you're saying. And I feel like people that want to do their own illustrations also need to know that, just like working your writing muscle, like creativity, writing every day, you kind of, if you want to illustrate, you need to be working those muscles every day and working on those skills all the time, because it's only going to improve you.
Yeah. So you were talking about physically drawing. That was, I was able to basically, create very rough sketches with pencil and paper, take photos of those, put them into the computer, and then utilize Stable Diffusion to color them and add texture to them, color and texture in that way, and was very happy with the results that I was getting. And then pushing that into video to get motion within the scenes and stuff like that. And then, looking at using Adobe's character animator to then, put a character on top of that who would be able to lip sync or just, engage in motion within the scene. So there's so many different tools and ways to explore this stuff. And I think that writing is writing, whether it's, script writing or books or blogs or whatever. You will find
structuring it out.
Yeah, there's just like
blocking out.
Yeah, 100%. There's just like so many ways to explore a story, and some people will watch movies, some people will listen to audiobooks, some people will read a physical, other people will only want to, grab an ebook. And I think as writers and authors, make it easy for people to find your work and create as many different ways for them to discover you as possible, because, it's tough enough just to make the work and put it out there, honestly.
Yeah. When I talk more about stories, I also like to emphasize on, it doesn't matter, at least at the story structure level, it doesn't matter if you're writing a screenplay, a novel, or a comic book, or a stage play. It doesn't matter. It's still a story, and that's why that's why you have adaptations from comics to series, from comic to like, or like novels to movies, because it's the same story. Now there are some things that you have to adapt, like inner monologue and stuff like that, but that's a much higher level of detail than the basic story structure. Like, well, this is a story about a protagonist who goes and does this and has these obstacles, and in the end he manages to make it, and the result is this, through imagery or whatever. Now there are some stories that are better told visually, yes, but and other stories that are better told, there's like a psychological inner analysis or whatever, but the story is the same. And I've written, I've written stage plays, I've written comics, I've written parts of chapter books, and the thing, like, you express it a little bit differently. I even did a couple of paragraphs as a test for the Salvador manga, like the first couple of scenes. I thought, what would it look like if it were a book? And yeah, it's different. It's not like panel 1 is he does this, panel 2 he does that. It was like he woke up and looked around, what was going on. It's different, but it's the same story, and it's still writing. It's whether you're writing a script or like structure, scene 1, this happens, you're still writing.
Yeah,
it's all
much.
writing. It's storytelling, really.
So
I love it.
Give you a little bit of props. Yeah, to give you a little bit of props too, Gonzalo hosts a writer's workshop on Tuesday nights, or story workshop, where you can basically bring in a concept and flesh it out more, verbalize it. I find that to be very helpful, and it's something that led to the development of the Fall of Tartaria that way. He was a great help with that. And I'm now finally making a little bit of progress on the other story that we had kicked around some months ago. I've just had it again sitting on the back burner, but I really got to try and get that into shape before too long here, because it's on my mind. But at the same time, like I said, I got another book coming out next month, volume 3 of the Exploring Our National Park series will come out November 11th. But yeah, I think that, like, regardless, make your stuff and explore it in different ways, because inside of that you discover new things about your skills, but also perhaps the story. So there was what was on screen for Tartaria, which was the first version of that story, and what ends up on the page in terms of editorial for the ebook version. I had to write so much more to be able to convey what you could see, because, even though I put some images into the ebook, the motion is not there. And, I didn't put every single still image into it. I, hit the highlights, so to speak. Jennifer, you're hanging out. Welcome to stage. Do you have comments, thoughts on what we're talking about? Do you want to promote anything? Do you have questions? What are you doing? How are you?
Hi, Michael. First of all, I'm getting over COVID, so I kind of have a weird voice and a little bit of breathlessness, but I just wanted to share 2 tools that I thought might be of interest. Mm-hmm. Based on what y'all have already talked about. One is some software that is kind of like comparable to a lot of Adobe's products. It's by a company called Affinity, and they're English, and it's like a one-off purchase, and their stuff is just amazing.
Like Photoshop used to be.
Exactly. I used one of their products called Publisher to design a planner, 2 planners that I created, actually, one for creative entrepreneurs and then one for authors. And they're like these hybrid planner journals where you use your journal entries to determine what action to take. So those are worth looking into because they're like $70,
and they were on sale kind of recently too.
Right. They also have like sales throughout the year where sometimes they're 40% or 50% off.
Let me ask you real quick. For $70, you get all 3 of the pieces of software? Just the one. Okay.
No, it's for one standalone program. So they have like photo, they have publisher, and then they have designer, which is more like Photoshop.
Basically, Photoshop, Illustrator, and InDesign would be the comparables.
Right, exactly. So that was one tool, and then the other tool is, as far as writing fiction, something called Novel Crafter. And there's a lot of like AI assisted software out there right now, but the way this particular program is set up, there's something called a codex where you can keep track of obviously all your characters, but locations, themes that you're exploring, and then like significant objects in your story. And you can, all of these things will be tagged in your draft or in your outline with like a live link, and you can interact with the AI inside the program, and it'll reference everything that you've added.
Pretty cool. What was that one called?
It's called Novel Crafter.
Very cool.
And I think it's like $14 a month. So I haven't really done much as far as interacting with the AI, but it's one of the most intuitive programs I've used for laying out everything.
Have you tried SunoWrite?
I have a friend who's used that, who really liked it at first, but he switched over to Novel Crafter.
Interesting.
And so everyone in my little accountability group, we're all using it, which is nice because then we can share, new discoveries about what it can do together.
Yeah, very cool. Again, you're up on stage. If you got something to promote, post it up in the nest. Always looking for cool stuff to discover. Plus, the other people hanging out can see it.
I will share, this planner that I made. I suck at marketing. It's something I'm trying to get better at. I've published 5 books. My first book was traditionally published with an agent at a medium-sized publisher. But my next 4 books were self-published, and something that I've been using for 4 years now is this planner that I mentioned. So it's called the Fail Forward Planner / Journal for Creative Entrepreneurs. And it's findable on Amazon or through my bio here on, I still call it Twitter.
It's still Twitter.
Yeah. And I've been using this system you work in 90-day groups, and I've been using the system to just, figure out what I do want to do, what I don't want to do, what I feel pressured to do, how I'm lost. And then the key to all of it is like, I don't want to say brutal honesty, but just very plain spoken honesty to figure out like what you really, really want. And then some very simple steps that you can take to get there. So it's something I've used, but I haven't really, like I said, promoted. So, if that speaks to somebody, like, great, hope it helps. But
yeah, very cool.
Yeah.
Tell us about your other stuff that you've got released.
So my first 2 books were they were about collaborative divorced family relationships, which is kind of a mouthful, but I wrote my first book with my kid's stepmom. It's called No One's the Bitch. And that got lots of, national press and TV, radio appearances. Then published a second book in that genre with a different co-author, and then have published the 2 planners and a book on creativity and working through creative blocks. So now I'm finally turning my focus back to fiction, which has always been my first love. I've worked on like a TV pilot before that never was purchased, but led to some great in-person meetings with some big company names in LA that I won't go into. But, the whole thing was a really amazing learning experience. Felt kind of overwhelming at times, but amazing nevertheless. So yeah, now I'm just working on a novel using Novel Crafter.
Excellent. You're ripping, honestly. For folks that are here, Kayla, I know you're about to leave. I'll say this before you leave. I'm always looking for podcast guests that are releasing something new or promoting a new project. So for folks that are hanging out, if you are, coming out with a project or you have a project that is releasing, get in touch with me and we can schedule a date to be able to get a recording together and then put that out, help promote. I record these sessions as well and then put them out as podcasts so they become available. It's great to have you hanging out and to learn about what you're doing. Have you done any audiobooks or anything like that? Do you wrote some a TV pilot, but maybe you've done other video?
Right. I've never done an audiobook. There was an audiobook done for my first book, which was done by HarperCollins. And that was weird because it was two women reading, our words from this book. And so that was odd to hear them reading that. But I don't know. I looked into an AI narrator for the second book, and that was several years ago, and it hadn't come this far. But
right,
I don't think I would really.
ACX does not allow machine reading on their platform.
But honestly, like that genre is a genre that I'm really burnt out on, and so it's kind of something in the past now, and I don't really have enough motivation to make an audiobook. Although, to your point before about how that can help work spread, I definitely think that point stands. But I also did want to say that I really like hearing other people talk about all the different projects that they're interested in, because I think there's a lot of pressure and content that we consume online to be single-minded and, really identify your niche and like drill down. And for a lot of creative people, I think that's incredibly stifling.
Yeah.
And can really make you feel like shit because you can't do it. It doesn't actually feel good, and then you wonder what's wrong with you. You think, oh, I'm never going to make it because I can't cram myself into this little box. And for people that are creative, they're often just all over the place, like little magpies, and that's not necessarily a function of ADHD, although it could be, but I think it comes from a place of real aliveness and intense curiosity. So just wanted to throw that out there.
No, I agree with you very much as somebody who kind of is creating in a multifaceted way. If I want to do photography, that's what I want to do. If I want to write about photography, then I can do that. If I want to turn that stuff into video, then I can do that. If I want to do audio, which can include, voice acting, or it can include a reading performance, or it can include writing music, those are all things that I find myself exploring and turning into projects or relating to different projects. So for example, we haven't talked before, but I have a project called Chicago 1893. And, it started originally as a Twitter thread, and I turned that into a book, and then I turned that into a documentary. But, doing the voiceover for the documentary, which is basically the book on screen, I was able to get an audio book out of that. And then, I used a bunch of my older music as the soundtrack for that, and I wrote some additional music for it and was able to put out an album of these
Oh my
songs
gosh.
that's also related to that. And it allows us as creative people, writing music is still writing, to explore these different components of ourselves and to also offer fans of a particular project more ways to connect with it. And that to me is valuable to me, as a person making stuff, and hopefully, enriches the experience on the participation side of those things. You might only want to watch something. You might only want to hear something. You might want to physically press your nose up against a page and really inspect pictures. And I think, we should be making all that kind of stuff available for people in that way.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing that, really stands out to me after hearing you describe all these different projects is, man, you must have, I wonder how much you're consciously aware of this, but you must have some amazing systems, because the fact that you can work within so many different genres and yet complete these projects is very impressive.
I make a lot of notes.
Right. Yeah, that's one definitely good thing to do. But those mediums all have big learning curves. And whenever we run into problems with the learning curve, it can, I mean, think of how many people just get stopped in their tracks because they get confused and overwhelmed. So,
well, the other side of it is I might not be any good at them, so
yeah, but that doesn't matter in the beginning, right? Like, we're all going to be bad at stuff we first try, I think.
Keith, welcome to the stage. You're hanging out. Tell us about yourself. Do you have questions, comments, stuff you want to promote? How's it been?
Hey, what's up, Michael, Jennifer, and Gonzalo? What's up, man? Can you hear me?
What's up, Keith?
What's up? It's been a minute. No, man, I was just listening to the conversation, and Michael, man, I had to jump up here because what you're describing as far as working in all these various mediums, doing music, doing audiobooks, translating to video, of course, you're writing. I've done all of that. And I wish I could say it's been a good experience. It's been a great experience from a learning perspective and a growth as a creator. And what Jennifer was saying is true. I ran into all of those obstacles when I started doing music for my podcast, when I started doing voice acting for my podcast, when I wrote my first novel. Everyone was a monumental growth curve. But what I found is the problem with promoting these different projects is that people get confused. Like, they want to put you in that box that Jennifer was talking about, right? It's too complicated. Like, what are you? Are you a musician? Are you a novelist? Are you a voice actor? What are you? And what I'm finding with this AI space, and not just with AI, but just the technology that we have, is that we can kind of transcend those labels. And the labels don't really matter anymore, because exactly to your point, Michael, like, the point is we can translate our creativity to whatever we want. And I'm a big language learning guy. I just spent a couple of years in Japan. And so I learned a good amount of Japanese. So I was able to actually, with the help of AI, I was able to translate my novel into 2 volumes into Japanese. And that was an amazing project. And it was so much faster than it would have been pre-AI. I mean, the fact that it was even possible to do everything. And I self-published all my stuff. But that was really the only thing. And I sent you a note, and you were talking about you're looking for guests for your podcast. I'm getting ready to drop a supernatural horror novel next month. It was supposed to be out by Halloween, but it's not going to happen. But I'm getting there. So that's all I wanted to say.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, absolutely. DM me, and we'll get something on the schedule. To basically coordinate it around your release, ideally, I want it to be around that time to help that first like initial buzz and push to promote
sure.
and stuff. So yeah, just let me know. And, if the date gets pushed back or pushed up, we'll work around it. Always happy to do that.
No, I really appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, I love what you were talking about, Jennifer, as far as the pressure to conform and find your niche. I've fallen down all of those rabbit holes since I've been on Twitter, now X, and several other social media platforms to just flatten myself. But now I'm like, look, fuck it. Look, I'm going to talk about Japanese. I'm going to talk about coding. That's kind of my thing, merging technology with traditional writing, not just through AI, but just how we tell stories. That's really kind of the holy grail for me, is to evolve how we tell stories and how we present them to other people. That's kind of my goal.
Yeah, very cool. If you have something that you want to put up in the nest, feel free so people can get a look at it. As always, like, this is a very free form space. I don't really come in here with any particular agenda besides good conversation. I put some things that are relevant for me up in the nest, but in general, this really needs to serve the people that are hanging out, more predominantly than me. I'm just facilitating it. I'm just an operator hanging out. We've got hold on just a second. I want to make sure I'm saying it right. And my phone is sideways. Chromatic Revival. You're up on stage. You're hanging out with us. What are you doing? What are you working on? Tell us about it. How's it been? Where are you at? What are you about?
Hello, Michelle.
Michael.
Michael. Okay. Sorry, I'm from Saudi Arabia. And I lost my last account. So I'm following my friends again, like Gonzalo.
Great.
And I just follow everyone here. And I mean, my friends, old friends. And I want to reconnect with writing, publishing, and authorship. Okay. So my book is almost done.
Great.
My website is done.
Critical.
I have a company right now. I own a company right now. I'm CEO of CBA, which means Color Bloom Agency. It helps other artists there who's writer or designer or even drawing. I don't care how much skills you have. I do care about the process and the publishing. I have another book to write about. I started writing about it, and I have also my second kind of PDF file that will be on colors, only colors and colors meaning, and some words on that meaning as well.
That's cool. I like that.
I have books. I published books before, but not as a company, as a freelancer. And also, this is an introduction, small introduction about me. Gonzalo knows me a lot, so he can introduce you to me. But I love colors, meanings in general. It's like my type of things. I finished the October challenges without even started. Just draw it, publish it, fun, done. Then starting with other old design, upgraded the old designs as well. And in Instagram, you will find me there. But I lost my account, so I just started a new one for my company. So this will become next space if I recover from that Pro Access account. If I recover that, I will be turning this one into a business account, like an authority account. There is a schedule. There is a contrast between us as a Ministry of Culture. And this is only the beginning of that specific series about chromatic revival community. I will start doing that again for almost 1 month. But I enjoy the process. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I dig it. Would love to see what you're doing in terms of exploring color and speaking culturally about color, because there's so much there in
Yeah.
general.
In general, I can analyze more than 1 year of colors, which means 365 colors.
That's
The
awesome.
last color will be teal. In just 3 words, I can do that. I have already published that in my background, but I'm not publishing that online yet. I just started a new series called, like the last series of my last project 1 year ago. I started a series called colors, like meaning and everything else connected with design stuff, terminology stuff, and like not as well design. It can introduce you to the color meaning and the color theories and behind the meaning itself. So yeah, this is what I do on daily basics. I work on 27th of 24 hours of 7 days. I just, if I want to relax, I can play some games. If I want to relax, I can do some writing with the music stuff as well. I am writer lyrics about that specific reason. I published the cover of my album. It will be soon published again. But good news is that I have a song that calls, I don't know what is called about, but I do have a cover of it. And yeah, I just want to say hi to all friends and new one as well, like you, Michael, and Keith, and everyone here, Jules, and yeah. I will say goodbye for now, but I will come back again. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Hey, I appreciate you taking the time and sharing your stuff with us. What I would say now, this is usually a 1 hour space. You know, I don't want to cut anybody off, but what we'll do here in the remaining is say, any final thoughts, any things you didn't get to say before that are just burning to get out, you know, anyone.
Yeah, I can do that. My online business is on. My website is on. You can search on that, Google, or you go to the link tree. I mean, the link bio. You will find that there. And it's happening right now. I upgraded somehow. And yeah, thank you so much to Gonzalo for following back and everyone here. I will look forward to see you next week. Hopefully there is another spaces, but I don't know the schedule.
I do this every 2 weeks.
2 weeks? Okay, no problem.
Every 2 weeks. Yeah. Jen, Gonzalo, Keith, any last thoughts, final words, comments, quibbles, complaints?
Not much. Just it's good to see El Bandari over here and talking to us. It's good to see Keith again. I'm gonna check out that book that you're putting out. It's good to see Julianne and Dave over here in the listener section. Good to see you guys. And I hadn't posted the link to the space because I posted it in a rush a couple of hours ago without the image, and I'm really anal about that stuff. So I wanted to just to post it with the image there, and I realized I was almost again. So I posted it. It's like the complete official post for our Friday almost noon comic space. It's going to be half an hour earlier.
Oh, yeah, I see. Okay, so I got to click this other link to then click the other thing. You're killing me.
It's the same link. It's in the post.
Ugh.
The link is in the post.
I know, but
it's in the post.
You don't understand what it does to me, though. You don't understand. You don't know.
But you were complaining the other day about people who put the links in the first comment. But the link is there. It's in the post.
I got a lot of complaints, and this is the time to do it. This is that part of the program.
Okay, so how would you do it then?
Well, I would put that link. This is because I've gone over this with Chris as well. So I would put the link with the picture in the first one, and then I would do a reply with just the link so that you get the card to automatically populate in the reply as well.
Oh, I'll do that right now.
Yeah.
So that you get the
card.
the card, so you can set the reminder.
Yeah.
I'll do that now. If I still have it in my I don't have it in my
I know what you're saying.
thing. I'll do it now. Yeah,
it's
yeah.
fine. I'm going to see it. Yeah, you're going to post it up into the cabal anyway, so it's fine.
Yeah.
We're going to see it. Keith, Jennifer, thanks for hanging out with us. Any final comments, thoughts, complaints, whatever? This is that chance.
Yeah, I just wanted to say thanks. I wasn't really familiar with this community, and it was because Kayla had a link to it on her, what I just saw on my homepage. So awesome! It's great to meet you guys, and I've connected with several of you by following you on Twitter. So I look forward to more conversations.
Great. It's tough for me to engage with everything that I'm getting notifications for because I'm on 2 different devices and I'm speaking on 2 different microphones right now. But yeah, I'll be checking all those in just a couple of minutes. Appreciate you hanging out and telling us about you and your thoughts on creativity. Always important to explore this stuff in a conversational way. Keith, any final parting words?
No, I just appreciate, very similar to what Jennifer said. I've been engaging with the community on here, but I'm slowly getting to know other authors, and I'm just trying to find other people who resonate with my work. I've written in several different genres, and supernatural horror is very new to me, but I'm having a good time with it. So appreciate you giving me the space and the time to be up here, and look forward to catching one of these again.
Excellent.
Thanks, Michael.
Well, I appreciate you hanging out. We do this every 2 weeks. We'll be back in 2 weeks. That'll be maybe the 20th or something. I don't know, 19th, the 20th. I don't know. It'll be the Wednesday in 2 weeks. The Wednesday following next Wednesday, we'll be back here chatting about writing, publishing, and authorship. As it is for today, do appreciate you hanging out.
It's Wednesday 30th, if you want to know.
There you go. Perfect. Yeah. See, now we got the facts straight. Now you can put it on your calendar. I usually schedule those a couple of days in advance. So if you're looking, on my timeline or something, you'll see it populate there. As it is today, enjoy the rest of your day, and we will talk again before too long.